Okay, good evening everyone. I'm Meteorologist here in Tuttle. So still got a couple of severe thunderstorms up across northwest Oklahoma. We talked about that earlier today and last night. So far, no tornadoes out of those, but there has been some pretty good sized hail. And those big hail stones will continue for probably at least another hour before these storms start to weaken. And then we're going to focus our attention from that on into the forecast for tomorrow. So thanks for joining me. All right. Let's see. Let's get on to the first thing get you up to speed there. So again, here's a radar view, which does show that nasty thunderstorm here around Cleo Springs and Fairview, just west of town, south of Winoka. This storm's not really moving much. It's just kind of a drifting to the south and southeast. But the Weather Service has put out some wording for up to baseball-size hail. So far, there has been hail detected by Doppler radar anyway, up to about almost 3 inches in diameter, along with some 70-mile-per-hour winds as possible. So this is a severe thunderstorm warning up here until 10 o'clock, motion to the east at only about 13 miles per hour. Another little storm or two out here in far northwestern Oklahoma. One west of Visai also has some hail with that one, with estimates up around 2.5 inches of, once again, of hailstones. We're talking tennis balls out here in northwest Oklahoma. Another storm up around Shattuck, moving up to the north and west, as we call a left mover, rather as these other storms are what we call right movers. Now, for any potential tornado activity, this storm here has the best shot at that. Not imminent right now, but just it has the best look to where that could become a potential problem over the next hour as conditions are still somewhat favorable in that area. I don't see anything imminent right now. It may never happen. All right, so it's not a huge probability. It's very low, but that will be the only thing to watch here for the next hour before that storm starts to weaken. But that is a lone supercell in a favorable environment. Okay, also, what you can look at that particular storm, we look at it, of course, on a flat dimensional view like this, and then we can tilt the storm in a couple different ways. So here's a 3D view of that. And what's kind of neat here is that this shows you the three-dimensional view of the storm, which indicates some very large hail cores. So when we talk about the tennis ball size hail, that's this purple shading here, indicative up to around 70 dBz lofted in the atmosphere for around 20 to 30,000 feet. That allows those hailstones to really grow. So that's why this is such a big, prolific hail producer right now. It's a very healthy supercell storm. And if we were to take a look at this in more of a two-dimensional view, but still take a vertical slice of the atmosphere, you can see those hailstones as well in the purple shading here and here in these strong updraft regions. And the height of the storm, good grief, up to 60,000 feet. That is a monster supercell thunderstorm. This one didn't even develop until just about dark. It took its sweet time in getting going. It used up all the daylight it had just to get a few clouds going, and then it just poof, exploded. So the cap kind of held for a while, and then it finally released. Let's see. So the latest on that for this particular storm is that the wall cloud is getting healthier. So again, we'll watch for that to see if that becomes a tornadic threat. Just because it has a wall cloud, just because it has a hook, does not always mean a tornado, just so you know that. Okay, so we'll get back to this. I'll watch this here, obviously, for you during the evening. But let's take a look at the forecast for tomorrow, because we're going to have more storms for tomorrow. So we do have that couple of those storms up here in northwest Oklahoma. This model doesn't hint too well at them. It's not doing too good at tonight's data. But we expected that. They were having trouble with today's events anyway. But what we're going to focus on is these storms up here across Kansas. Now, this line is going to move to the south over the eastern parts of Oklahoma and the back build here in the central parts of the state. It's very crucial as to how this line develops and moves south and how it dissipates, because that's going to set the stage for us for tomorrow. And there's a dividing line here between which way to go in this, all right? So as we go through time here, watch how these storms go south. It's called an MCS, mesoscale convective cluster complex system, whatever you want to call it. It's going to have some damaging winds with it, especially in Kansas. It'll probably weaken a little bit overnight into tomorrow morning as it goes through Tulsa at daybreak, by the way, and then it kind of crosses through central, grazing us in central Oklahoma and eastern Oklahoma because it continues to weaken. Now the key is it completely weaken, or does it make it all the way to Red River, as this particular model is showing us? Because what happens is if it holds together long enough to get to the Red River, look what happens to the afternoon storms that develop in the 7 o'clock time frame. They stay down here, clustered in the northwest and western Texas and down along the Red River, and we don't get any severe weather here in central Oklahoma because that is kind of like a cold front, and it clears us out and brings in some stable air. So that keeps all the severe weather away from us and keeps it in Texas. We go through time in a Saturday morning, and then now Saturday is the troublesome day on the forecast because the model still, we're hinting at still some instability left over, a low-level jet still lingering in the morning, And so some elevated storms bubbling up along I-35. So I know a lot of you still have some plans for Saturday. We took our first guess at that yesterday. I told you, be muddled and complex depending on how Friday evolves. And right now, this particular model is very gung-ho. It's seeing some more rain for at least most of the eastern parts of the state on Saturday and dry out west with the middle in between. All right, so that's kind of how Saturday into Sunday is looking right now. There's Sunday morning. Still some lingering storms in the northeast and southeastern part of the state. Okay, so now let's take a closer look at this activity for tonight. So here's the storms here, which will go through about the 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock hour before they kind of fall apart. So again, a couple more hours left of those. And then you can see how these storms migrate in from the northeast to the southwest. Now, again, this is a different model. Now watch what happens. This model, this is at lunchtime tomorrow around 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It doesn't push that big cluster all the way south and west. It kind of dies it out, slows it out down here. So we don't get that big clearing here in central Oklahoma. We get a little bit of a light wind shift line. And guess what that does? That starts to spawn some storms here just in the south end of Oklahoma City as we head into our lunchtime hour. Then they kind of explode and erupt here. Now this model is a little aggressive. I will give you that. Very, very aggressive for the late afternoon and evening. I mean, it's got storms all over the place here in central Oklahoma and then points to the south and east. And then they'll finally kind of clear out down the southeastern Oklahoma. So a little bit different look. Tale of two different models. The problem is, depending on the physics, is how these things evolve. And the models use different physics. So they're at odds right now, but that's how they're built. The question is, which way is it going to go? And that's the hard answer, believe it or not, even at this time of the forecast period. Now, here's the key, though, what happens. So this is taking a look at the aggressive model, which keeps the line of the, say, the mini cold front still not through the Oklahoma City area until about lunchtime, whereas the other model pretty much blasted it through here, right? So here's a look at 1 to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. You see how the humidity values, as the dew point values, in the low 70s kind of peak in this area. We call this a theta E axis. All right, this is where all the warm and unstable areas. This little outflow boundary is about like this. Okay, so this little outflow boundary is pushing to the southwest. It's like a mini cold front. So you can get this little risk area here of severe weather along this boundary in this corridor until the boundary clears you. So this is the sweet spot for any type of storms that get out of control, such as very large hail or potential for tornadoes. So the forecast for tomorrow is going to include a potential for tornadoes here just south of Oklahoma City down I-35 corridor, as long as that sweet spot remains. This is based off just this one model, and I will caution you, it's the only aggressive model that keeps us anywhere near us, whereas most everything else clears us out down near, say, Ardmore, where it shifts that focus down in that region. But if it were to stay around here in central Oklahoma, forecast sounding does indicate favorable environment, although weak the wind fields, but the direction as well. And other data I've seen picks up these winds a little bit better, but the look is decent for at least a potential tornado. All right, it's not great, but it's decent, kind of like what tonight is. If we look at the tech model, which I do like a lot of the times, it keeps that cluster out here in northeast Oklahoma. You see the little wind shift line? It kind of falls apart as it's backdooring here in Oklahoma. And when it does, since it becomes just a strong cold front, it then regenerates new storms along the front. See how they bubble up right here across Oklahoma County? These little red patches indicate some hail cores in them. But you can also see that this line continues to push south. So that's down here now as we head into 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And that shoves the extreme instability and the nastiness potential down here across far southern Oklahoma, down closer to Ardmore, then of course down across the Red River on into Texas. So that's how this line goes, and it's a squall line, moves on through, down to Texas we go. So that is the play here for tomorrow and how things can pan out. Now, remember the heat burst we had this morning and the what we call a wake low? It's the northern end of a dissipating squall line. And last night I looked at this pattern and thought, I think we see another one of those. And then I checked the wind speeds, and the models didn't pick up on that. Well, tonight they changed their tune. So here's a look at how things go. We're looking again at that aggressive model, which has all those storms here anchored over central Oklahoma as we go through time. Now watch what happens as we head into midnight hours, into 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. You see how the storms kind of just fell apart? And we had that lingering, decaying light rain here over central Oklahoma. So that's kind of a repeat of what happened tonight. By the way, with that line and with those storms in southern Oklahoma, the algorithms are picking up on hailstones up to around golf ball size or slightly larger, especially in this little sweet spot here, south central Oklahoma. So again, that's the sweet spot of this activity. And then if we look at the wind potential, we're looking at the Brown readings, which are on the scale anywhere from 64 to, could be 75 miles per hour. The max right here is 74 on the model data. So this is very similar look to what we had last night and this morning. So don't be surprised if we repeat this and you get a lot of stuff flying around, blowing around. Some of you only get minor damage. Some of you might get some significant damage, as much as a small tornado. So again, you've been warned that is in the cards. This can happen sometimes with squall lines. Okay, so that takes care of tomorrow. So what you need to know is we've got storms that'll move across northeast Oklahoma in the morning. They will come south and back build here in the central Oklahoma. That might fall apart before they get here. If they don't, and they come through in their weakened state, and that line keeps pressing south, it takes the severe weather threat from Oklahoma City and pushes it south. If it falls apart and all we get is a wind shift line that comes through here that generates more storms, we have a chance of seeing some hail here in Oklahoma City. However, the potential tornado threat right now appears to be just south of town. So as you travel south on I-35, all right, so that would be the northern fringe, and from there we continue down toward Red River. Again, in that sweet spot, that corridor of south central Oklahoma for potential tornado and otherwise some more large hail. So that's your forecast for Friday. Saturday still depends a lot on how Friday goes. So it's either going to be kind of a quiet day like today, or it's going to have a mixture of a few storms still lingering in the area. So we'll have to take a look at that tomorrow and see how that plays out. I know it's tough for planning your plans. How did I say that right? I get that. It's just the nature of the beast this time of the year. Things change really quick, and they get too complicated when you have to find two different storm systems come from two different directions and they collide. It throws everything out of whack. So it's difficult to go 36 hours in detail or 48 hours past that point. All right, so let me go back to the storms up north. Let me close these 3D views here. I'm done with those. Okay. All right, probability of a tornado on the predictive algorithms is only around 8%, so very low. When I look at the rotation, no couplets, nothing like that. Just a standard supercell producing some large hail. Hail size may have come down, looks like a little bit, only now 1.25 inches, which means in the time that we've been talking about the forecast, those big hailstones may have come down quite a bit already to the ground. I can take another look at that upstairs. We'll see how that looks. Do we see any purple on the map? No, we do not. We just see it way down here at the bottom in this little core here. What that means is those big hailstones that we were watching being held up aloft have already dropped down the surface. So baseball size hail has come and gone. So this might be the stage where the storm starts to weaken, at least as far as the hail goes. It'll have to recycle to get bigger hailstones than that. And again, as we go later in the evening, it should weaken overall little by little. All right, so that's that particular storm. Once we go back here up here in northwest Oklahoma, yeah, see this the trend here has been to weaken. So look at this storm out here around Arnett and Harmon. That went pretty big, some baseball size hail out of it. In the last couple of frames, it's shrunk down to nothing. It's gone, and even the severe thunderstorm warning that was assigned with it has either expired or been canceled. The one up here in Shattuck, about to face the same fate. A little bit of hail left over with that one. Otherwise, it's starting to slowly weaken, but continue to move to the north and west. It may last a little bit longer, only because it's a left mover. It'll do its own different thing when it comes to surviving. But the fact this one went belly up, this one's probably going to face the same fate. Although, let me see the wind. Let's see the temperature. 78 over 60, 56 in that area. And what do we got over here? 73 over 60. 73 over 68. All right, and what we got here? 75 over 68. So dew point's a little bit better in this area. Temperature's really no different. So it's got a slightly different environment to hang on at least a little bit longer. Does it look like it gusted out already? So it looks like it has a little bit of a gust front look to it right here. Be an RFD look, outflow dominated. If that is indeed the case here, then that means that's killed the brunt of this storm. Yeah, it has. So, and with its slow movement of only, was it 13 miles per hour? Yeah, was it, how fast was this thing going? Was it like 17 miles per hour, something like that? What did we decide on this? Yeah, 13 miles per hour. With that in play, I doubt it's going to be able to regenerate and get rid of this RFD and then get back organized. So the storm looks like to me it's done unless something drastically happens. So if it had any potential at all, trying anything close to a tornado with the wall cloud, etc., that window's already closed and come and gone. So that's the good news with that one. Still looks healthy as far as the supercell goes on radar. Has your typical, back end hook echo, and nice shape to it, nice structure to it. Hail core's come though dramatically down like we talked about, so it's weakened quite a bit. Let me do a two-dimensional view on this again. Oh, it's dropped. Still some indication cloud tops may be close to 60, but the stronger DBZ values down around 50, so it has come down. And then there's those cores here, much smaller and tinier. So this storm's a heck of a lot weaker than it was just 15-20 minutes ago. So usually a storm ramps up and gets stronger when it wants to produce a tornado. It does not go on the other end, which is dying, and then try to produce a tornado. So again, I don't see anything ominous at this time or threatening in that department. I'll keep an eye on it though behind the scenes, but that's what I got for you. And you've gotten caught up on the forecast. So with that said, let's go to a couple of your questions, comments, concerns, diatribes, whatever you want to call it. All right, no whammy, says Blake on YouTube, right? Well, you typed a mouthful there, Ogog. All right. And hey, Prince of Rain. Okay, so on Periscope, you're funny. Western Star, you're all over the place. I think you literally watch on every social media platform. You're funny. All right, let's go here to the Facebook fan subscription page. See what you guys had to say real quick. Going through. Corey, I'm glad you like the shirt. Oh, Mary's LTTP. That's terrible. Christy's watching on YouTube and then watching the comments here on Facebook. She's double dipping. You double dip the chip. You never double dip the chip. It's a Seinfeld reference. Got to be there. Let's see. Tomorrow's a tornado threat, but all models. Oh, he's given the summary. Way to go, Corey. Appreciate that. For those that were late. Quiet next week because of Omega Block. Mandy wants to know. Wow, boy, she's on top of it. If she already knows what the Omega Block is, she's halfway to being a meteorologist. Brenda, Southeast Kansas. It's going to be fun. Yes, it will be. Be a little noisy. Jeriah, pretty good. Nice curb your enthusiasm. Shout out. All right, let's go back on the main Facebook page for you guys as well. Checking in from Lindsay. Awesome, Carmen. Good to see you. And from Norman's here. So I feel sorry for you guys up around Choctaw. Y'all got hammered over this morning. Radar had estimates of winds close to around 100 miles per hour. Now, some that's a little off the ground, so you might have gotten 80 to 90 as a result. I did not do any detailed analysis of that, but I did see a lot of damage photos and heard you guys' cry for data. So I know something went down over there with straight line winds from last night's event. So Tiffany, yeah, the downburst potential is not tonight. It's for tomorrow night. So it's for late Friday into Saturday morning. So once again, while you're asleep is basically how that'll shape up. So it actually might start a little earlier. And since you guys stay up late on a Friday night, you might be awake by the time it starts, say, I don't know, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, midnight, somewhere in that time frame. Angela, as a meteorologist, I love hearing all the technical talk. What? You're a Met? Sweet. So, let's see. Doris, you're welcome. Courtney's going to rewatch the whole thing. She's got a glass of wine in her hand, and she's got all the time in the world. What happened last night? Lauren wants to know. Boy, Lauren's late to the party. How about Woodward? Christopher, Woodward's good. I'm scared the drought is making a comeback. Please tell me I'm wrong. Philip, I will not tell you you're wrong. What are we expecting in Tulsa? Jessica wants to know. A rough, loud morning is what you're expecting. By the time you're sipping your coffee. Won't be too bad, though. Let's see. Will the storm near Shattuck make it to Harper? Those storms are dying out. What's the threat coming from Kansas overnight? Hail and wind. Can I play disc golf on Saturday? Jeremy wants to know. Brother, don't let a little weather stop you. I mean, you can let a little clouds, a little lightning, a little rain, a little hail get in your way, a little frisbee golf. Psh, come on, man up. Just kidding. Don't do that. Any chance of the northwest storm coming to Oklahoma City tonight? Ron, no. It's moving too slow and it's already started to decay. It may take a while though to fully die, like another hour, but it's nowhere what it was 30 minutes ago. Tiffany, no, that was for, I think I already answered you. That was for next event, not tonight. And Christopher says, thank you for what you do. I don't watch the news anymore. You're in good company. I don't watch the news either. I can't stand it, honestly. You got to be kidding me. Listen, when I worked in the industry, I had to wear an IFB so I could hear my cues and when to go. And of course, they play the news in my earpiece for that. You know what I would do? Take it out. You know when I'd put it back in? The 2 times I had to be on live, which would have been, usually it's like 5 minutes after the hour, unless it's right off the top in some cases, or right for my tease for the 17 after the hour broadcast. And we tease it going to the commercial break right around 15 after. So I would have it in for that tease so I could hear the producers cue me. Other than that, no. So when somebody would ask me, hey, what'd you guys have in your news the other night about this, that, and the other? I said, I don't know. I said, what do you mean you don't know? I said, you work there. I said, yeah, I don't watch the news. You should see their head explode. I'm like, no, man, I don't watch that drivel. Much of that's nonsense. How about the storm's going to be in Yukon tomorrow? Fluffy Man wants to know. It's going to be at least some hail, a little bit of hail, and some wind. It'd be more of your garden variety severe threat right now. Fluffy's going, he's about to go to school to become a meteorologist. You picked a good field. It's going to be fun. All right. That was what I have for you guys. I went through and checked all your comments. Let me take a look at that storm here real quick while you're still on here. See anything good's coming out of it. One out here northwest continues to fall apart. And what's this guy doing here? Got a nice little kidney bean shape to it. Probability of a tornado is 2%. That means there's a 98% probability of it not being a tornado. For you guys that don't have math as your specialty. By the way, let me point that out to you when you're talking about statistics. Anytime you hear something that has a fear element to it, and they give you probability, do the whole half glass full, and then flip that around, and then go, what? You mean I got a 98% chance that absolutely nothing's going to happen? I'm good with that. And then just drop it, walk away, and just, let it go. Because, my goodness, you could probably find a low probability for everything in the world to scare you half to death. That'll range anywhere from 0.0008% to 1 or 2%. And if you lived your life like that, I feel sorry for you because that ain't the way to live. But when it comes to storms like this, we see these little probabilities, very, very low. That's good. I always like to see those low probabilities. Anyway, this storm continues to look like it had done a little while ago when I looked at it. Outflow dominant, gusted out, too slow to recoup. And the hail size is coming down. Let's see, down to 1.25 inches. Yeah, it's down to an inch in the latest algorithm. So this thing's toast. It still may take like an hour to finally completely die. And you're probably going to still get some small hail out of it up until about that time. That's what I've got for that one. So unless that changes, we are finished with that. And finished with the forecast. So real quick, if you joined late and you missed everything, number 1, you can go to bed safe and sound tonight. Don't have to worry about anything. 2, we'll see some storms tomorrow, starting out in northeast Oklahoma first in the morning. Those will travel south and southwest into Oklahoma City Whether they hold together or not is the question, the million-dollar question around lunchtime, because a boundary will come through and that would kick off additional storms if they do fall apart. So think of it like a cold front. If they, however, stay together and come through Oklahoma City and they come through very, very weak, it's like a glorified rain, maybe some thunder, like a little lightning. Otherwise, that shoves a severe threat down south of us. So regardless of how all that plays out, there'll be some storms that develop in the eastern Texas Panhandle, southwest Oklahoma, and those will move east to kind of combine with the storms moving in from the northeast. So they'll kind of meet in the middle along I-35 in southern Oklahoma. So the best threat for severe weather tomorrow will be south of Oklahoma City, straight down I-35 to the Red River. And there's a little window there, a little triangle sweet spot where you might potentially squeeze out a tornado and also some large hail. So that's the way the forecast looks right now. I'll look at it, of course, when I get up in the morning, and we'll see how things go. May have to be an earlier coverage as far as like covering severe weather. So you're used to waiting until about 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon for something to start. It may start at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, as far as severe storms bubbling back up. Kind of depends on how things evolve overnight. Squall lines and those MCS complexes, they have a mind of their own sometimes. They hold together and just blast on through 3 states. Then other times they fall apart after the first state. Models right now are 50-50. Most of them are in the let's go to the Red River before falling apart. The other one's like, no, let's fall apart once it gets past Tulsa and eastern Oklahoma. All right, we'll have to take it how it goes and adjust the forecast from there, because that depends on who gets this severe weather at that point. All right, I'm sure that was as clear as mud. Sometimes that's all you get is mud. You gotta deal with it. I gotta deal with it. If I gotta deal with it, you gotta deal with it. Mud is mud, clear as mud. All right, listen, I'm out of here. You guys have a great night. I'll keep an eye on this storm up here behind the scenes for the next few minutes, but I don't expect anything to happen. And I'll talk to you again tomorrow at some point. Sleep well, and we'll do this again. Thanks again for watching AT's Weather. Please like and share the video. Tell your friends and family and all that kind of stuff. All right? Thanks. Appreciate it. See ya.